All right, guys, my name is Garrett Hartle, and I'm actually here with Brian Farrelly from Reptile Revival. Thanks for having me over.
Thank you for coming.
Brian you've been buying up a bunch of dwarf and super dwarf stuff and really trying to make it like a business investment, which I think a lot of people do. It's sort of a natural step. Not that everyone has to be a breeder, but it's like if you like nice things, you kind of need the money to pay for the nice things. Sure. The cool thing about breeding reptiles, you can buy two nice things and rub them together and make more of them. But you're just attempting your first breeding this year.
Yeah.
You're on the cusp of finally getting, hopefully a breeding season under your belt. Is there anything that you would turn around now and talk to yourself 2 years ago or 3 years ago and say, hey, listen, younger version of me, make sure you do this?
I feel like we did a pretty good job from the beginning as far as choosing the right animals and the amount of animals that we've purchased, the cages and whatsoever. But one thing that I would have changed, I think I would have done it a little bit faster, honestly, because the market has been changing. From a business standpoint, the market has been changing so much. There's so much popularity around these animals, rightfully so, that the prices have definitely gone up, and that's a great thing.
Pretty weird in the reptile industry.
Right.
Yeah,
and I think that's a great thing. It slowed me down a little bit. To say 2 years ago that we would be where we are now, with the amount of money that we've invested in the animals and also in our equipment, I would have laughed at you. I feel like this is something that we were supposed to be doing. The main thing that I would change is doing it a little faster. In the first 6 months, I think we purchased 3 animals. I think I should have been at more like 5 maybe, but the timing in which we had come into this whole thing, it was outside of the breeding season, so a lot of our options had been dwindled down. Yeah. I do have some like tips of things that I've done to set the stage for turning this into some sort of business. Building a network is really important. We found in the beginning that people were more than willing to help us out when we reached out to them. I saw some of Garrett's Talk 'em Up Tuesday videos, specifically one with Joseph Hull, where he had talked about starting his own collection and his journey. And that really motivated me to for one, reach out to him because he had this experience of what I was about to go through, and also talk to him about animals that I was thinking about purchasing and caging and long-term goals. I watched every one of Garrett's videos in the beginning there, and
now we have too many videos for that. That would just be crazy.
Now there's but it's really awesome to have that resource, and super thankful for it.
Yeah. So what you're saying is now anybody watching this video can call you.
Sure. I already, although again, we haven't produced anything, I am more than happy to give any advice that I can, just like Joseph did for me. I'm really thankful for him.
I think a couple years into it though, like you definitely have some experience and some knowledge. And then what happens, I think a lot of times, is people buy, I always say they buy with their heart, not their head. Mm-hmm. You can do both, but if people end up buying, for example, like one of every snake that looks pretty, 6 months later, when they're trying to put this all into a genetics calculator, figure out what they have, they're like, oh, I'm just going to produce like nothing as cool as what I already own. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there are certain things that you buy and then immediately regret, which always seems to happen at like reptile shows, right? Like, oh man, I should not have bought that. I was caught up in the hype and all that kind of thing. Versus like you putting down pen to paper and trying to figure out what you have and how many you need to reach a certain goal. Right.
When I do speak with other people that are involved, I feel better about what I'm doing in my silo here. We live kind of in a low population area. I don't really have friends here. I certainly don't have friends here that keep retics. So when I'm talking with other breeders, whether they're or just keepers of any species, I think that's important to keep that ball rolling and keep that excitement keep that excitement going.
Plus, it feels good when you show, you're like, oh, look what I got. And everyone's like, no way, you got one of those.
You can share that excitement. Yeah, for sure. The biggest thing is with every step you take it slowly, methodically. Prepare yourself for the future, whether it's animals or caging. I was really concerned about what the long-term caging was going to be for my first 5 retics, let's say. But the thing is, they do grow pretty slowly, and if you're confident that you'll be able
Not retics, but dwarf and super dwarf retics.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, these things, they grow pretty slowly, and over a year you can make that right decision. You know, research the cage manufacturers, talk to other people and see what they feel is the right caging for that particular animal, or things that they don't like about their caging or like about their caging. I purchased intentionally cages from 4 different manufacturers to find out what I liked.
You know you're going to have 20 of something one day. You want it to be the right one, right?
Right.
What do you, more than anything else, want to see peeking out of an egg with what you have?
Orange glow snows.
Orange glow snow.
Even an orange glow snow. That and anything that's pure. Either one of those. I'm going to be excited about the first normal, if that's what it is. I
made a snake.
Yeah. I mean, because it'll have something cool in its pattern, more than likely.
Sure,
it'll
yeah.
be cool, and I'm into all of them. There's not one that I don't care for. So
orange glow snow should be pretty cool. They don't exist yet, so you can imagine it.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to producing pures to provide to the community, because, man, we just did an Instagram live with one of the pure Kalatoas, and that girl is almost 4 years old and is no longer than my arm span. So
yeah. Oh, you're talking about slow growing. I got one right here. Look at this. Mm-hmm. So you got a CB70 rack over here, and you've got 2-year-old female pure Kalatoa.
Yeah.
This is a 2-year-old female. So, I mean, yeah, definitely slow growing.
Yeah.
You get your baby rack. If they're big tubs for babies, they can chill there for a couple of years before they need to get upgraded. You've got this girl who's, basically a hatchling, and 2-year-olds in the same rack, and then they can go straight to there. So that's pretty cool. You said in the beginning you would have laughed if you could see how much money you were going to spend and how deep you were going to get into this. Mm-hmm. If you could educate yourself about how or when or why to spend the big money, how do you go about figuring that out? When do you think is right?
You get to a point where you're not just looking for animals, you're looking for, and hopefully it's sooner than later, you're looking for the right animals. I think how I make that decision and how other people make that decision might be different,
Yeah, but I want to know how you make it. I make it like this. Shoot from the hip.
Yeah. I just am confident that it's gonna, if I know that that's the right animal, then I do what it takes to make it happen. That's honestly how the last 2 years have gone.
And it's the right animal, not because you suddenly fell in love with it when you saw it, but because you have a vision for the future, for what your company is or what you want to be producing.
Right. I held off on calling Garrett for probably 2 months or so in the very beginning when I knew I wanted to do this, because I wanted to have a well thought through conversation.
I think you actually asked G.I. Joe to prime the pump and call me first and say you were going to call.
No, he said that he was talking about me with you and whatever. And
he called me and he's like, I have this friend and he's going to call you and he's really thinking about this stuff. So he wants to do it right. So help him out. His name is Brian Farrelly. I
literally had zero money to spend on snakes in that time period. We were just going through a patch where we have kids and a normal life just like everybody else, and cash was just going out the window, but I knew this is something that I wanted to do. So it all started with an anery girl that we bought, and each snake after that, the vision of the whole business started to take shape in my mind.
Clearer and clearer.
And so those missing pieces became clearer and clearer, and I could be more focused and less overwhelmed. In the beginning, it can be kind of overwhelming when you get on the phone with Garrett and he throws out all these different gene combinations if you're not familiar with them. And so you can start to for example, the snow project, really narrow your focus on, this is what I need to know about. I don't need to know about, the cow project or something like that. I need to know, albino and anery, and then you start learning about your incomplete dominant genes and building on that. But just as much knowledge as you can pump into your brain, the better. The more
so specialize in one thing.
Yeah.
And then once you've got that locked down, then you can think about expanding.
Right.
And then later you were like, you know what, I think I want to bring localities into it. And now you have 5 different dwarf and super dwarf localities. Is that right?
Right.
So
I think we have 4 and then 1 mainland locality, which is the Bontang.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But,
so you have a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, which is what I like to do, like the pure stuff, and then just pretty.
Yeah, I see them as completely separate projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different story, but...
If you want to see more about the Farrelly's collection, you need to watch this video right here on Brian's face. This one. Check it out. You're going to like it.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.